king has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew.
When workers quietly began renovations inside Prince Andrew's private quarters, no one imagined their routine task would uncover a secret buried for decades behind his bedroom wall. But the moment the panelling came down, everything shifted, sending a chill through the staff who had been expecting nothing more than dust and old plaster. The discovery rippled through the royal household like wildfire. Whispered phone calls, emergency meetings, and stunned silence followed as palace officials scrambled to understand what had been concealed for so long. Was it a forgotten relic, a hidden scandal, or something far more unsettling? The truth left insiders shaken to their core. Stay tuned. This revelation left the royal family completely speechless. The hidden chamber in Andrew's bedroom came to light in the dead of winter. February 2023 wrapped the Swiss Alps in a thick hush of snow, muffling footsteps and transforming the village of Verbier into a frozen postcard of isolation and quiet luxury. Among the glittering chalets owned by billionaires and industrial titans, one property stood apart. Not for its grandeur, but for the controversies clinging to its walls, stories whispered in corners and passed along in hushed tones. This was the holiday villa of Prince Andrew, Duke of York, valued at a staggering £13 million. It had long been his refuge, a place safely tucked away from prying British tabloids and the whispered gossip of palace corridors. Yet the villa had been empty for a shocking 18 months. An unusually long stretch that struck Marie-Claire Dubois, the local property manager, as odd. That morning, what seemed like a routine inspection would turn into a discovery that shook her to the bone, leaving her questioning everything she thought she knew about the estate. The villa spanned 6 opulent floors, Persian rugs covered marble floors, Venetian chandeliers hung untouched, and paintings, some signed by masters, made Dubois instinctively reach for her phone. Wealth surrounded her, but wealth alone rarely sparked real concern. It was a single door that changed everything. Hidden at the end of a dim corridor, it had never been mentioned in her instructions. Unremarkable in appearance, but fitted with a sophisticated lock far beyond what secured rooms filled with crystal and canvas, Dubois instantly sensed secrecy. This door didn't exist in any official floor plans. According to the blueprints submitted to local authorities, this section of the 3rd floor should not even exist. Caution took over her first. She contacted the Duke's legal reps in London, a Mayfair firm used to handling aristocratic crises. Their reply, she would later recall, sounded rehearsed. Leave the door alone. Inside, they claimed, were personal items, family heirlooms, and private correspondence. But seasoned property managers like Dubois know when nerves mask something far heavier. Something that could rewrite everything insiders assumed about privacy and power. Within 72 hours, the situation had escalated beyond her control. Swiss authorities arrived with lawyers and a high-security locksmith. When the lock finally yielded, it revealed a room that had no right to exist. Approximately 20 square meters, windowless and climate-controlled, the chamber seemed built to preserve the most delicate of artifacts. Leather and preserved paper scents drifted out, tangible proof of meticulous care. Inside lay documents, items, and traces of activity that no one had expected to find tucked behind a bedroom wall, carefully shielded from both time and public eyes. Once a private retreat, the villa's hidden chamber sent shockwaves far beyond the snow-draped Alps, reaching Buckingham Palace itself. Questions whispered through the halls. What had been hidden? Why untouched for so long? And most pressing, what would the royal family do now, knowing a carefully concealed secret had been brought into the light, challenging everything they thought under control? Could a secret hidden for decades in Andrew's bedroom rewrite the monarchy's story? What shocking truths might still lie unseen, waiting to surface? Stay tuned. The archive never meant to be seen revealed its contents when the door first cracked open, and the cold, preserved air drifted out. The chamber, carved secretly into the bedroom's structure, held 7 tall filing cabinets arranged with military precision. Each drawer opened smoothly, exposing decades of tightly guarded information. Even the villa's official blueprints denied the room's existence. The documents spanned 30 years. At first glance, some seemed mundane. Financial summaries, routine statements. But closer inspection revealed transactions through offshore accounts in secrecy havens. A paper trail twisting through jurisdictions meant to confuse and hide, raising immediate concerns about intent and accountability. Investigators immediately questioned the motives behind such careful concealment. Swiss authorities trained in uncovering hidden wealth recognized the gravity of what lay before them. Then came the correspondence. Letters and emails organized chronologically, involving individuals whose names had repeatedly surfaced in international investigations. These weren't casual acquaintances. They were businessmen tied to arms deals, figures wrapped in legal controversies, power brokers operating in shadows. Each folder had dates, locations, and handwritten notes that left experts debating whether it belonged to the Duke himself or a trusted assistant, revealing a web of relationships far deeper than anyone had imagined. Photographs, some innocent group shots, others deeply compromising, shifted the room's energy. Albums were labelled with care, curated with strategic precision, not sentiment. Among the records, the most damaging collection emerged, evidence linking Prince Andrew to Jeffrey Epstein at a level far beyond what had been publicly acknowledged. Flight logs contradicted official timelines. Payment records traced through intermediaries suggested exchanges impossible to explain away, exposing a hidden layer of activity that could shake even the most seasoned royal observers. Printed messages revealed a friendship built on mutually beneficial arrangements, connections so tightly coordinated that investigators privately called them uncomfortably aligned. The Duke's long-standing defense that his link to Epstein had been a simple lapse in judgment suddenly felt painfully thin against the mountain of meticulously organized documents stacked across the hidden drawers. Yet even the Epstein materials, explosive as they were, represented only a fraction of the secret archive. The other cabinets uncovered the Duke's parallel life, one far removed from cameras, tabloids, or public scrutiny. His years as Britain's special representative for trade and investment wove through dealings with dictators, oligarchs, and sanctioned businessmen, their names scrawled next to favours exchanged quietly, transactions executed with surgical precision, and a blurred line between duty and personal gain. It was a world where royal privilege acted as a shield, allowing actions that would have landed any ordinary citizen behind bars immediately. Swiss authorities understood instantly this room was not merely storage. It was protection, insurance, compiled over decades, a vault designed to shield its owner from both known threats and those lurking unseen. Photos were taken, documents logged. Every move was deliberate, measured, and cautious, until the next step changed everything. The British Embassy in Bern was alerted, and what unfolded over the next hours remains partly hidden behind diplomatic secrecy and national security barriers. One fact, however, could not be ignored. The discovery in Prince Andrew's bedroom was not just a scandal, it was an institutional crisis, capable of shaking the very foundations of the royal family. What hidden truths within Andrew's bedroom could unravel decades of royal secrecy? And who could survive the storm that followed? News of the bedroom archive travelled from Switzerland to London under strict encryption, reaching Buckingham Palace with a level of urgency usually reserved for national threats. It landed first on the desk of the King's private secretary, who read the report twice before briefing King Charles, barely 6 months into his reign after Queen Elizabeth II's passing. Charles suddenly faced a nightmare. His mother had spent years quietly containing Andrew. Reckless decisions, endless controversies, and palace officials constantly patching damage behind the scenes. But this was far worse. These were not careless missteps. They were carefully organised, preserved, and deliberately sealed inside his own bedroom walls. A palace meeting was convened far from public corridors in a private office. Shielded from tours and cameras were the king, his private secretary, the master of the household, and senior legal advisors, skilled in constitutional law and crisis management. Joining by secure video link was Sir Edward Lule, a former diplomat famed for navigating delicate international disputes. The gravity in the room was unmistakable. Charles listened in silence as the contents of Andrew's bedroom were laid bare. Cabinets full of decades-spanning financial documents, communications with controversial figures, records of offshore transactions, and the most unsettling materials, insurance files meticulously compiled over time. It was not merely poor judgment, it was preparation. It suggested a prince who feared abandonment and trusted no one, not even the family sworn to protect the institution he represented. The betrayal cut deeper than any headline. Legal briefings were blunt and devastating. If the documents recovered from the secret chamber became public, the fallout would be enormous. Criminal investigations could launch across multiple countries. Andrew faced clear legal exposure, but beyond personal peril, an even larger threat loomed. The files implied the royal household had tolerated behaviour that, at minimum, required intervention years earlier. Their failure to act could be judged harshly for decades. Options were debated, none acceptable. Diplomatic immunity was technically possible, yet politically suicidal, a move that could ignite constitutional chaos. Full cooperation with investigators made ethical sense, but risked exposing decades of sensitive royal operations. Attempting quiet negotiation invited accusations of manipulation and secrecy. Ultimately, King Charles chose a narrow path between extremes. There would be no outright cover-up, he declared. But the palace would also avoid unnecessary exposure of information tied to national security or unrelated state matters. Cooperation would be formal and open, but not total surrender. Charles also made one irreversible decision. Andrew's public life was over. No staged return to duties, no rehabilitation, no future as a working royal. Whatever intentions he had with the bedroom files, they ended any chance of redemption. Yet the official stance barely scratched the surface of the family tensions. Prince William, fiercely protective of the monarchy's future, argued for blunt transparency. A painful storm followed by endless suspicion. Princess Anne took an even sterner view, insisting Andrew be stripped of all remaining privileges and left to face consequences alone. Camilla, seasoned in the brutality of public judgment, said little, recognizing that survival of the monarchy demanded accountability, even at deep personal cost. As the discussions dragged on, the shadow cast by the secrets uncovered in Andrew's bedroom only grew darker. So how did the secrets hidden in Andrew's bedroom escalate into a crisis that could fracture the royal family completely? Stay glued. The Duke, cornered by his own hidden history, remained at Royal Lodge, the sprawling 30-room Windsor estate he fought fiercely to hold. When the revelations from Switzerland finally reached him, those closest saw a man swinging wildly between indignation and fear. One moment he dismissed the materials found inside his secret bedroom chamber as misread or taken out of context, and the next he lashed out in panic, insisting investigators were twisting harmless documents into something sinister. But the files were far too detailed, too carefully arranged, too deliberately preserved for anyone to believe they were innocent records. They were the product of intention, years of it. Private discussions between King Charles and Andrew during this period remained undocumented, spoken only in guarded rooms with no staff or devices nearby, leaving no trace beyond memory and trust. Witnesses who saw the brothers afterward described an emotional rupture that seemed beyond repair. For decades, Charles had defended Andrew, often against the advice of senior courtiers who insisted the Duke should have been removed from public duties long before the Epstein scandal erupted. Now, the proof of Andrew's secret life sat exposed in a hidden room, a truth Charles had never imagined he would have to confront, shaking the foundations of both family and crown. When the palace finally issued its official statement, it was crafted with near-surgical precision. It acknowledged that materials had been discovered during a routine property inspection, emphasized the Duke's cooperation, and underscored the royal family's commitment to transparency, while carefully reminding the public of ongoing legal processes. What the statement didn't reveal were the words spoken behind the scenes, the furious debates, the sleepless nights, the chilling realization that the monarchy had come dangerously close to irreversible harm. Behind the polished language, the palace had launched a full-scale internal investigation. Forensic accountants traced the financial pathways revealed by Andrew's bedroom files with painstaking detail. Intelligence agencies quietly evaluated whether any information posed national security risks. Lawyers worked around the clock, negotiating with Swiss authorities to determine what could be released publicly and what needed to remain shielded under legal protections. Buckingham Palace was once again in crisis mode, a position it had grown painfully familiar with over the past decade. As spring emerged over London, curated leaks and court filings began to outline the contents of the secret chamber. Each new detail painted a picture utterly at odds with the public image. Prince Andrew, long portrayed as a sometimes awkward, sometimes boastful royal prone to blunders, now emerged as a figure far more calculating and deliberate than anyone had suspected. The financial records were among the most alarming. They revealed a sprawling network of offshore accounts and trusts, stretching from the British Virgin Islands to Panama. Between 1995 and 2018, roughly £12 million had flowed through these channels, origins opaque despite intensive forensic scrutiny. Some funds appeared tied to Andrew's decade as Britain's special representative for trade and investment, a period when he travelled widely, meeting officials, negotiating access, and courting powerful figures. Critics had long questioned whether a royal should be involved in commercial diplomacy, but the bedroom documents added weight to those concerns. One file detailed Andrew's dealings with Timur K, a Kazakh oligarch and son-in-law of the former ruler. Documents showed Andrew had facilitated business interests, including selling his former marital home for £3 million above its asking price. Correspondence made it clear this was no ordinary real estate transaction. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement, access and influence exchanged for money hidden through deliberately complex channels. Another section laid bare Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Despite his insistence that their friendship was casual and that he had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes, the bedroom files painted a far more troubling picture. Undisclosed flights, visits to multiple properties tied to Epstein's abuse, and communications revealing familiarity rather than distance, plus dozens of photographs showing Andrew fully integrated into Epstein's world, exceeded anything he had publicly admitted. Yet perhaps the most unsettling discovery was not the transactions, the flights, or even the photographs. It was the mindset revealed by the sheer care with which Andrew had stored everything, secretly, inside a bedroom only he could access. What had he hoped to achieve by turning his bedroom into a vault of secrets? Protection, power, or something far more dangerous? Stay with us. These were secrets that turned a bedroom into a weapon. What startled investigators most as they dug deeper was that the financial records and compromising photographs were just the surface. Tucked between files, wedged behind binders, and slipped into leather-bound notebooks were dozens of personal notes, some typed with military precision, others scrawled in hurried handwriting. Together, they formed something far more unsettling than a diary, a private record of a man who felt wronged, misunderstood, and increasingly angry at the world around him. The tone of these notes evolved over the years. Early entries brimmed with frustration, but still carried a desire for recognition. By mid-2010, however, the words sharpened into something colder, heavier, echoing resentment toward the public, irritation with advisors, and a deep conviction of being underappreciated. Bitterness extended even to his own family. In several passages, he accused senior royals of failing to defend him, of stepping back when support was most needed. Plainly written were suggestions that some envied his global influence. Most strikingly, Andrew demonstrated a terrifying awareness of his own scrutiny. He anticipated investigation, expected exposure, and meticulously collected, organized, and preserved these files as a form of protection. They were not mementos. They were a shield. One handwritten entry from 2019, just months after the Epstein scandal erupted, chilled investigators. In it, Andrew admitted he had taken steps to guarantee his own protection. A warning followed. If the palace attempted to cast him aside, they would discover he was not without defenses. The meaning was unmistakable. These archives stored within the quiet of his bedroom were not simply evidence. They were leverage, insurance, a subtle form of blackmail aimed inward at his own blood. As intelligence services reviewed the materials at the palace's request, their concerns widened, buried among the contacts, connections, and meticulous strategies laid bare before them. Correspondence and meeting notes carried names already flagged by intelligence units, individuals tied to foreign security agencies, people who had cultivated friendships, favors, and access over decades. There was nothing in the files to suggest the Duke had knowingly leaked state secrets, but the vulnerabilities were glaring and undeniable. His behavior had left openings for exploitation, and the pattern of recklessness extended far beyond personal scandals. As these findings circulated among those briefed, any remaining public sympathy evaporated. The settlement with Virginia Giuffre had bruised his reputation. But these documents crushed what little goodwill lingered, leaving the monarchy exposed to criticism it had long avoided. What emerged from Andrew's bedroom was not the portrait of a man who had simply made poor choices. It revealed the outline of a decades-long life lived in the grey zones of power, privilege, and personal grievance. Spread across the bed, every page illustrated the growing chasm between Andrew's public image and private reality, too vast, too stark, and far too dangerous to ignore. The secrets hidden behind Prince Andrew's bedroom walls had the potential to redefine his legacy and shake the monarchy itself. What unfolded inside that suffocating, tightly locked space spread far beyond its four walls. Every document pulled from a drawer, every note recovered from beneath a stack of confidential files, sent fresh shockwaves across the country and rippled through the corridors of power. The revelations did not stay confined to a bedroom. They exploded outward, igniting a public storm unlike any the monarchy had faced in generations. When investigators confirmed the depth of the Duke's offshore accounts and the long trail of unmonitored transactions quietly stored in folders beside his bed, the reaction was immediate, urgent, and impossible to contain. Parliamentary committees called emergency sessions, demanding full inquiries into royal finances. Questions avoided for decades suddenly became impossible to escape. Outside palace gates, protesters gathered with signs reading "Accountability for all," their voices echoing across London. How had these activities gone unnoticed? Who had approved such dealings? And more dangerously, how many others enjoyed the same shadows, protected by silence? This was no longer just about Prince Andrew. The files discovered in his bedroom, the meticulous records, pointed letters and damning correspondences exposed something far more destabilizing. They peeled back the curtain on a system, an ecosystem of privilege where oversight appeared optional and consequences negotiable. It was a threat not just to a prince, but to the very institution that had quietly enabled him. Previous royal crises had revolved around individuals, abdications, divorces, and personal tragedies. But this felt different. The Epstein scandal questioned judgment. The Giuffre settlement questioned morality. But the materials uncovered here illuminated something far broader: a structural failure, a belief that silence equaled protection, tradition as a substitute for accountability. Public patience thinned by the day. Commentators who once defended the monarchy now questioned its relevance. Polls reflected a generational divide, with younger Britons sharply reducing support. Even newspapers traditionally loyal to the crown began calling for reform, arguing that mystique alone could no longer sustain the monarchy. Inside the palace, tension thickened. Senior courtiers whispered about transparency, audits, reduced expenses, and permanently shrinking the number of working royals. The old strategy, contain, conceal, move on, was no longer viable. Charles felt the shift keenly. The decades-old rulebook had grown outdated. The quiet dignity and distance that once shielded the monarchy had become liabilities, replaced by the urgency of public accountability and modern scrutiny. Prince William, sharper in instinct and clearer in tone, stepped forward as the voice of reform. He argued that the crown's future depended not on perfection, but authenticity. Even Camilla, usually cautious in times of upheaval, admitted privately that William was right. Slowly, Charles accepted the truth. Continuing to shield Andrew risked everything else. Public statements soon followed, delicately phrased acknowledgements of wrongdoing. But beneath their polished surface, the message cut sharply. The age of automatic forgiveness was over. Andrew would live quietly, indefinitely stripped of public duties and titles. Within those ancient walls, something irreversible had shifted, altering not only his fate, but the monarchy's trajectory forever. The files discovered in that bedroom had exposed more than a prince. They revealed a hidden truth long whispered but rarely spoken aloud. The gravest danger to the crown had never come from outside, but from failings within. And what if the secrets hidden in that bedroom revealed a danger so deep it threatened the very foundations of the crown? The room that had unmade a prince. By summer, the chaos from Prince Andrew's bedroom had settled into a relentless, grinding unravelling. What began as a shocking discovery behind a hidden wall became an international reckoning. The boxes of documents, financial records, correspondence, and concealed files recovered from the room were no longer mere scandal. They were evidence, a window into decades of unchecked power. Within weeks, Andrew's public life was stripped away with finality. All military appointments and patronages were removed. His Buckingham Palace office shuttered. Long-time staff were dismissed. Even his official stationery, once embossed with the authority of His Royal Highness, was destroyed. Though technically still the Duke of York, the title had become hollow, symbolic. Only the bedroom files had triggered a transnational legal storm. Swiss authorities, coordinating with British financial investigators, examined thousands of documents tracing a labyrinth of offshore accounts, shell companies, discreet intermediaries, and frozen holdings, uncovering a complexity and depth few could have imagined, an intricate web of secrecy that had lain hidden for decades. Lawyers spoke cautiously about the complex financial and personal structures, but the implication was undeniable. A long-standing network designed to obscure accountability was being exposed for the royal family. The revelation upended decades of protected equilibrium. Silence and discretion could no longer shield misjudgments. In his first major address to Parliament, King Charles called for renewal through transparency. He referenced his brother's concealed activities and outlined reforms, independent audits, strict oversight of external business dealings, and clear separations between personal wealth and public duty, all deemed essential for the monarchy's survival. Public scrutiny intensified. Parliamentary committees demanded full accounting of Crown estate spending. Newspapers published exposés, television panels debated the monarchy's relevance, and social media buzzed with outrage. The scandal born in one bedroom ignited a national conversation about accountability, privilege, and the limits of royal protection. Meanwhile, Andrew's world contracted to Royal Lodge. The home he had fought to retain became a gilded prison. He ventured out only rarely for solitary rides in Windsor Great Park or brief, cautious church visits. Each outing risked ridicule. Invitations ceased, and his phones stayed silent. Even within the palace, his name was whispered cautiously. His daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, remained loyal but wary. Visits were polite, yet weighed with exhaustion and caution. Their careers and public roles depended on distance from their father's disgrace. Every resurfacing of his name threatened to undo the progress they had fought so hard to achieve. Love endured, but it was strained by disappointment and fear. Legal scrutiny moved slowly, yet inexorably. Prosecutors in the UK, Switzerland, and the United States examined whether the files supported criminal charges. Andrew's legal team could not deny the overwhelming pattern of entitlement, influence trading, and compromising associations revealed within the bedroom. International repercussions followed. Republican movements in Australia, Canada, and the Caribbean cited the scandal as evidence for constitutional change. Former foreign officials questioned whether Andrew's trade envoy work had blurred the line between public duty and personal gain in the United States. The FBI reopened parts of the Epstein investigation, requesting access to previously undisclosed correspondence, visits, and flights documented in the bedroom files. The British government negotiated delicate agreements, balancing cooperation with the protection of national security. As months stretched into a year, public outrage gradually gave way to quiet acceptance. Andrew's reputation was irreparably damaged. Commentators described him as a ghost of privilege, wandering through the ruins he had created. The monarchy endured, but its image was fractured. Courtiers whispered about lessons learned, yet feared what other secrets might lie hidden. King Charles reflected privately on the scandal's cost. He had long known his brother's flaws: vanity, impulsiveness, and poor judgment. But the bedroom revelations exposed the real cost of familial protection. The files revealed not just Andrew's misconduct, but the monarchy's collective blindness. Silence and inaction had enabled it. Endurance now demanded transformation. The mystique of previous generations had evaporated. Public trust would need to be rebuilt slowly and deliberately. The bedroom in Windsor, once a private royal space, had become a symbol far larger than the man who slept there. Its hidden compartments, secret files, and unearthed evidence carried a warning that reverberated across Britain. No title, however ancient, can shield its bearer from the truth forever. So what do you think lies behind the secrets Andrew tried to hide in his bedroom? Pure scandal, carefully preserved leverage, or something even darker? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on this shocking royal saga.